Hi guys, it's me, ShazzaHD, and welcome back to the first stream or first anything on this channel in the month of August, and for the first time since, of course, the last Grand Prix in Hungary a month ago. Hopefully you guys have had a good summer break. I've had a decent summer break, I would say, overall, but yeah, hopefully you guys have had the best summer break you possibly have had, given whatever circumstances you're going through, and hopefully you're just as excited as I am for the first Grand Prix of the second half of the season, pretty much, here. First race, of course, after the summer break, the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. And I think, in the dry, it was always going to be a very close, exciting weekend. But it looks as though, given what I just saw of the F3 race, that we could be in for a wet qualifying session later on. I will still say, though, I'm not going to say it's a certainty, because it might dry up, because we still do have 3 hours until qualifying begins. Practice 3 will probably be a wet session, but again, if it doesn't rain again, qualifying will probably be held in the dry. But like it's been said before, you never know with Spa whether it's going to rain or not, so we'll see what happens. But dry or wet, we are in for an exciting day at qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix. Of course, when it's rained in qualifying here at Spa, we've always had a very exciting end to qualifying, unusual results. I think the last qualifying session held in rainy conditions was 2018, where we had a bit of rain and that, spiced things up a bit. And I think we had a Force India 3rd and 4th, I think, for that particular Grand Prix on the grid. So, yeah, I think we are definitely in for a very exciting day. And I think definitely practice 3, we're going to see not just what certain cars are, better suited to the wet conditions at Spa. I think you're going to really see what drivers really do just flow really well around a circuit like this. Spa is really a driver's circuit, so you would expect the best drivers on the grid to really excel in the wet conditions at what is probably the best track in the world. So I'm looking forward to today quite a lot. Hopefully you guys are having as best a Saturday or so as you could possibly be having. And no matter what time it is in your part of the world, hopefully you're having a good one. And hopefully with me today, you'll be joining me to Watchalong Practice 3 and hopefully Watchalong qualifying later on. Also, if you did miss my post that I did a week or two ago stating why I hadn't uploaded any recorded videos during the summer break, you would have seen that I said I'm going to start uploading stream clips. Now, I'm not going to upload anything from this stream because, by the time we get to qualifying practice 3 and anything that's happened in this stream is going to be pretty meaningless, but I am going to record pretty much, the qualifying watch-along in whole, or in full, really. And then later tonight, I don't know what time exactly, sometime before I go bed, hopefully, I'm going to upload a highlights video, basically, of my watch-along and do the same for the race watch-along on a Sunday as well, sometime during next week. So there won't just be this stream, the qualifying stream, and then that's it. There will be also a recorded video coming later on. Hopefully I can get it out as soon as possible, but as long as I get it out before I go bed tonight, then that's all that matters. And then you guys can watch it late tonight or tomorrow morning, just to catch up on what happened in qualifying yesterday. And hopefully it gives also you guys who can't always make the qualifying streams, and you guys who also aren't, say, massively as keen as others on watching a long stream, which I completely get. You can, of course, then watch the highlights of the stream, like I said, that I will upload later tonight. And I'll try and make it as, quick to the point and as interesting as I possibly can. But anyway, 10 minutes to go, or just under now 10 minutes to go until practice 3 gets underway at Spa Francorchamps, and it is still, I think, raining. Not massively, but enough to make it definitely a wet session. Let's get into the results of practice 2 yesterday, which started off damp and then was pretty much a dry session. And here are, of course, the results. As you can see, some drivers, did a run on the intermediate tyres because it did start out wet, but dried up quite quickly. Max Verstappen ended up P1, about 0.04 of a second quicker than Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton third, about 0.07 of a second slower than Verstappen. Valtteri Bottas, by the way, has a 5-place grid penalty, so even if he does get pole position today, Valtteri Bottas, it doesn't mean anything. So it's really Max versus Lewis today. I don't see Perez really getting up there in qualifying. I think Sergio will really come to the fore in the race, where normally at Spa, look at his previous results, he does tend to be pretty strong on race day. In qualifying, it's kind of a 50-50. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not. So we'll see what Sergio can do. But as long as Sergio can start the race for Sunday in third place because of Valtteri Bottas' penalty, then that would be great for him. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton third out of that top 3. Fernando Alonso P4, about half a second off the pace. Pretty good considering how long of the lap is at Spa for the Alpine to only be half a second off a Red Bull. I do think that gap will increase today, dry or wet, but that's still pretty good from Alonso there. Also, Pierre Gasly in 5th place, about half a second off as well. So good pace from the AlphaTauri, which is not really a surprise because I did think the AlphaTauri would be a car well suited to this circuit. So that's not exactly a surprise. In the wet, though, it might not be a straightforward thing, at least for Yuki Tsunoda, we'll have to say. Lance Stroll in 6th. Bit of a surprise that Stroll ahead of Sebastian Vettel in practice 2 by, a tenth and a half in that session. And then Esteban Ocon in P7. He'll be a bit disappointed to be that far off in practice 2. Almost 0.4 of a second off. But, of course, we are not into qualifying yet, so still has time to improve on that. Then Vettel 8th, Norris 9th, and Perez 10th. McLaren weren't great, but I don't think there was any real cause for worry about their performance yesterday in practice 2 for McLaren, because we've seen that on Friday practice days, McLaren don't tend to be pushing that hard. So we'll see definitely in this session a lot more representative speed from McLaren. Perez 10th. I think Perez will definitely improve on that. I think Perez will be maybe not right up there with the top 3, Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, but I think he'll have enough speed to be just about ahead of, Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, whoever's, the front of that midfield pack. If it does rain, though, or not does rain, but if it stays wet, I think maybe then Sergio Perez might end up a bit lower on the grid than he would be in the dry. So we'll see what happens there. But in the dry, Perez should have enough speed to qualify 4th and, of course, start the race then in 3rd place if Bottas is in the top 3 in qualifying because of his penalty. Carlos Sainz P11, Tsunoda 12th, and then Giovinazzi 13th, Raikkonen 14th, Ricciardo 15th, Latifi 16th, Russell 17th, Leclerc 18th. Leclerc, though, did have an accident, so that's why Leclerc's so far down. As well with Ferrari, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bit of a surprise that they were, say, far down with Carlos Sainz, because I don't think Ferrari are really, in dry conditions, I don't think Ferrari are really going to do that well at this track. I mean, last year at this circuit, they were an absolute abomination. So I don't think this year's going to be, it's going to be better, but not much better. What they need to hope for is this rain to persist if they're going to have a strong result, or a result as strong as, say, Silverstone about 6 or 7 weeks ago. And yeah, as for the rest of the grid, really, from what I've seen of the dry running, there's no real, maybe except for Alpine's pace, there's no real big surprises. 4th, like I say, 4th and 7th for Alpine is a bit of a surprise, because still at power tracks, I don't think Alpine have quite enough speed compared to, say, an AlphaTauri, McLaren, an Aston Martin at times. So that's a bit of a surprise that they were so far up. Hard to say whether that's genuine or not. It probably isn't, because Alpine do tend to be very quick on a Friday and then drop off a bit on a Saturday. But other than that, it looks pretty much as expected and as you would expect for not just this circuit in terms of the characteristics of the circuit, but, you know, just the general order we've seen this season. It looks pretty much, you know, as it would normally for practice too. So, like I say, no real changes there. But of course, in the rain that we're going to have for this session, we're going to find out who really, in 2021, in the wet, at the best circuit in the world, who really is at the top of their game. And we'll see in, 4 minutes' time. And I think what I'm going to do quickly before we get into the session is just quickly well, I wouldn't say announce, because I guess it's already been announced in some way, shape or form, but just update you guys as to some interesting news. So if you didn't see, during the summer break, the Japanese Grand Prix was cancelled due to the COVID situation in Japan, which, you know, that's their decision. I still think, you know, if it was held without fans and it was done in that COVID secure way that F1 was doing in July 2020, I still think they could get away with it. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's Japan's decision, so we'll have to just deal with it. But there are now calendar changes because of that. So this weekend, of course, is Spa. Next weekend is the race at Zandvoort in Holland. And then the week after that is the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. And 2 weeks after that, on the 26th of September, I believe, is the Russian Grand Prix. So that's all staying as it is, or as it was, coming into the season. It's not been, you know, altered at all. But from October onwards, there are some differences now. So the Turkish Grand Prix, which of course was supposed to take place on the 3rd of October, that was put in to replace Singapore, now has been moved to the slot where Japan would have been, so a week later, to the 10th of October. Still, though, there is a possibility that the Turkish Grand Prix might be cancelled, because the Turkey, the country, is still on the red list for the UK in terms of quarantining and all of that. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know exactly what I mean. But, you know, because a lot of the F1 teams and personnel are based in England, it then makes it quite difficult to, you know, go to Turkey and then come out and then go to the next race a couple of weeks later, which, of course, it will be at the US Grand Prix in Texas. So at the moment, the Turkish Grand Prix is going to take place a week later on the 10th of October, but there is a possibility, I'm not sure how strong it is, but a possibility that it might be cancelled. And apparently the strong rumour, is that the replacement race will be Mugello if that race is cancelled, which I'm not disappointed by, but I would still prefer if they went back to the Nürburgring, like they did about the same time a year ago. But, you know, as long as we get a race that weekend or the weekend before, then that's absolutely fine by me. So we'll see what happens with that in terms of whether Turkey goes ahead on the 10th of October or whether it's cancelled and Mugello goes ahead on the 10th of October. We'll have to see. By the way, happy birthday to Valtteri Bottas. I don't know how old he is, actually. I think, is he 30 or 31? I can't remember exactly how old Valtteri Bottas is. But yeah, happy birthday to him. And I'll just get some of the graphics ready for you guys. By the way, the order on the left-hand side, of course, is not the actual order of the session so far, as the session hasn't even got underway. So yeah, the Turkish Grand Prix will be moved to the 10th of October, and if it does go ahead, then that's when it'll be, you know, that's when the race will be probably going ahead. Then the US Grand Prix will go ahead as normal on the 24th of October, 2 weeks later. And then the original plan was that Mexico would be a week later, and then Brazil a week after that, so a triple header. Now the plan, from what I've seen, is there'll be a 2-week break between the US and Mexican Grand Prix. So the Mexican Grand Prix will be on the 7th of November instead of the 31st of October. So there'll be a 2-week break between US and Mexico instead of a 1-week break. And then 1 week after Mexico, on the 14th of November, a week later than it was supposed to be, there will be the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Of course, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix was supposed to be on the 7th of November. So basically, they're just delaying the, wait between the US and Mexican Grand Prix there. I think to possibly allow for an extra race if needs be at the Circuit of America circuit. We'll have to see. By the way, the session has got underway. I'll get up the ticker now, and I'll get the timer going in just a moment. And then I'll just get into, in a moment, the last calendar, I guess, announcement. So yeah, Mexican Grand Prix now 7th of November, and then Sao Paulo Grand Prix will be 14th of November. There you go, 59 minutes to go. Let me just adjust the position there, and adjust the position of the FP3 thing. There you go. So yeah, Turkey moving a week later to the 10th of October. US Grand Prix, normal, 24th of October. Mexican and Sao Paulo Grand Prix will be moving a week later than it was supposed to. So, again, Mexican Grand Prix instead of the 31st of October will be now 7th of November. And the Sao Paulo Grand Prix instead of the 7th of November will now be the 14th of November. And then, at the end of the season, as you guys know, on the 5th of December and 12th of December is the Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, respectively. That is remaining as it is. But now, there will be a race a week before that Saudi Arabia Grand Prix on the 5th of December. So on the 28th of November will be the Qatar Grand Prix at the Losail International Circuit, I believe it is. I think it's the circuit that you use for MotoGP, I believe, in Qatar. So we're going to have a triple header at the end of the season. So there you go. Those are the calendar changes that haven't been officially announced, but if you go on racefans.net, you will see the story about it and see that that is what has been presented by Liberty Media to the teams as the new plan going forward. And the only thing I could see going wrong from this point on is that Turkey gets cancelled and they have to race at Mugello instead on the 10th of October instead of Turkey. Other than that, I think all of the other races will go ahead as planned. And then, of course, attention turns to the calendar for next year, which still might be a bit tricky in terms of what race will go ahead and what race won't. Of course, the Miami Grand Prix will be on the calendar and is, I think, scheduled to be in May. So we'll have to see how they fit that around the European season, or the start of the European season. I'm going to guess that the season is going to start in Bahrain again. I don't see it starting in Melbourne. We'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, just want to let you guys know about that. And hopefully, there are no, more cancellations or alterations going forward. But we are, 4.5 minutes into, or 3.5 minutes, actually, into practice 3. No times at the moment really set by any of the drivers. We do have Russell, Schumacher, Mazepin, Latifi, Sainz, Alonso, Leclerc, Raikkonen and Stroll all on track right now in practice 3. And now here comes a Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas. Like I said, it's his birthday today. Can't remember how old he is, but I'm going to guess it's 30 or 31 year old. I'm sure I will find out at some point. You know what? I'm gonna Google search it quickly to see how old Valtteri Bottas is. Been around quite a long time. He's been around 8 years in Formula One. He's 32, so I was almost correct there for Bottas. But there you go. Yeah, we're now into the session, and pretty much every car on track. The only cars not on the circuit are the 2 Red Bulls, Perez and Verstappen. Tsunoda, Norris, and Ocon. As Lewis Hamilton is currently, as Russell does a lap time. So let me just get things rolling on the running order on the left-hand side. Here's a replay of Mazepin at turn 8, I believe that is. Can't remember the name of the corner, to be honest. Very difficult corner. Downhill, bumpy braking. Just goes straight on, does the Haas driver of Nikita Mazepin. And yeah, I'll just start updating the order now. So Russell is P1 at the moment. There's only 3 times on the board, so don't get too excited out there, guys. Yeah, Russell is in P1, and then you've got Mick Schumacher in 2nd position. There you go. Latifi actually has just gone quickest in the 2nd Williams. Let me just quickly update that. The Latifi is up into 1st position. Carlos Sainz has just gone up into 3rd place, just ahead of Mick Schumacher. So Sainz up to 3rd. And then let me just put Mazepin up in what would be 5th place at the moment is Mazepin. There are only 5 times on the board. Saying that, another time on the board. Now Charles Leclerc goes P1 in the Ferrari. And yellow flag in the sector 2. Now it's green, so I'm going to guess someone went off at turn 8 again. As Valtteri Bottas, the birthday boy, is on the Kemmel Straight. As Fernando Alonso goes up to 5th. Kimi Räikkönen goes up to 2nd. Russell goes back up, back up into 1st place. As Bottas, at the end of the Kemmel Straight, just goes straight on. And slowly and safely rejoins the track in the middle of turn 5 and 6, I think. Or turn 6 and 7, rather. So, Russell is currently P1 from Leclerc 2nd. And then Kimi Räikkönen is up in 3rd place. And yeah, Bottas just simply carried too much speed into... why can I not remember the corner name? What's the corner name at the end of... at the end of the Kemmel Straight? Let me just get the circuit map up. It's been a while, guys, since I've done any commentary about the Spa circuit. So Les Combes, there you go, Les Combes. I've got the map up now, and yeah. So now we continue, and Latifi in the other Williams back up to 2nd, Charles Leclerc 3rd, and Lance Stroll has jumped up on his first time to 4th place. It is drying out, I have to say. Towards the end of the lap, it's pretty much dry. There's a dry line definitely forming in that part of the circuit as Daniel Ricciardo goes 3rd in the McLaren. So let me just throw that up there. Gasly goes P1. Lewis Hamilton only went P11 there with quite a slow lap. We'll see if we can improve on that lap that was 9.5 seconds off the pace. So Pierre Gasly now is up into P1 in the AlphaTauri. Not really surprised that Gasly is so quick in these conditions. I mean, the AlphaTauri car pretty quick here in the dry, and in the wet, it's still pretty decent. And obviously Gasly, a pretty decent driver himself, wouldn't you say? Yeah, currently we're 10 minutes in. As by the way, I got to say, the live visor cam on Alonso's car, or Alonso's helmet, is absolutely brilliant. The technology that we are witnessing is incredible to watch through his visor live. heading through turn 8 and turn, well, now into No Name, the left-hander. But it's just fantastic that, we're able to witness these pictures live, because it really does give you such a great example of just how tough Spa is in terms of the bumps, the speed, how, with certain corners you can't see a certain part of the corner until very late on. For example, Eau Rouge, you literally cannot see the exit of Eau Rouge until you're on the exit of Eau Rouge. So, it's just an absolutely incredible camera angle. And Alonso right now going pretty quick as he now comes through. I get a track map back up. Blanchimont now into the final chicane. And Alonso, I think Lewis Hamilton has just gone P1. Currently not seeing the running order on the screen as they were just showing Alonso's car there, so I'm sorry that I haven't got it on my screen fully updated yet, but they're not showing it on the screen, so I can't really do anything about that. But there you go. Lewis Hamilton is now up into P1 on a 1:57.9, I think it was, as Raikkonen, don't know what's wrong with him, complaining about something whilst going through the pit lane or coming into his pit box. Yeah, Hamilton P1, and then you got Gasly second, Russell third, and then Fernando Alonso has gone up to 4th place with that lap that we saw through his little visor camera. Alonso up into 4th. Well, not anymore, because Lando Norris has gone up to 2nd in the McLaren. I will say, if it is wet later in qualifying, I am expecting good, or not even good, great things from Lando Norris, because, this season in the dry conditions in qualifying, he has been just out of this world. He really has. So in the wet, surely he can produce just absolute magic in that McLaren. Yeah, he's currently in 2nd place. Gasly 3rd, Russell 4th, Alonso 5th, Latifi 6th, and now Max Verstappen pops up with his first lap time of the day and goes P7 in the Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel is in 8th place. By the way, Max Verstappen never has won the Belgian Grand Prix. He's only had one podium at Spa in 2018 where, no disrespect, he was kind of gifted it by problems for his teammate and the Ferrari of Raikkonen. And also, I think Valtteri Bottas had a grid penalty that day. So, he couldn't really finish any lower than 3rd place that day. And I have to say, I am very interested to see what he does this weekend for Verstappen, because, he's had good qualifying results here. I think 2016 he qualified on the front row. But he's never, in the race, he's never really had a race where you thought, yeah, Max Verstappen has done really well today. He's never really had a race at Spa where he's, come away and that's been the overriding thought. As his teammate, Sergio Perez, goes up into 3rd place ahead of teammate Verstappen. So Perez is up to 3rd. And then, Verstappen 8th now, Vettel 9th. And completing the top 10 is Valtteri Bottas. And then you've got Sainz 11th, Leclerc 12th. And then Tsunoda in 13th. Antonio Giovinazzi is 14th. Well, it's not anymore because Lance Stroll has gone up into 6th place in the Aston Martin. Of course, Stroll in wet conditions does tend to be pretty good. He's been pretty much like that since he entered Formula 1 back in 2017. But yeah, Giovinazzi now down to 15th, and it's Ricciardo 16th, and then Raikkonen, and then Mazepin 18th, Schumacher 19th, and 20th, Esteban Ocon. Ocon has not set a lap time yet, even though I think he did come out on track at the start of the session, but seemingly has a problem by the looks of it. So we'll see what happens with Ocon, but Lewis Hamilton, by the way, has come back into the pits as Max Verstappen still out on track. I'm not quite sure Verstappen is really on a lap at the moment. Doesn't really seem to be travelling that quickly. And no, he's not. Verstappen really just touring about. As Alonso improves his lap time, but stays in P7 about 1.5 seconds off the pace of Lewis Hamilton. And yeah, Hamilton on a 1:57.9, I think it was, in the Mercedes. Verstappen down in 9th place, still at, I think, in the 2-minute something. So Verstappen not doing that great at the beginning of the session. And the reason he's aborted his lap is because of, well, what he believes to be traffic interrupting the his view ahead of him. As Bottas very nicely drifting through the first part of... Is it Stavolo? I don't think it is. No, it's not. Still trying to remember all the corner names because there are so many corner names. La Source, Radion, Eau Rouge, Camel Straight. Obviously, that's not a corner, that's a straight. Lacombe, Huon, No Name, Stavolo, Paul Frere Curb, Blanchemont. I mean, there's so many to remember that sometimes you forget which one is what. So just got to make sure I get back into the swing of things on that. As I'll just quickly bring that up so you can actually see the bloody car. And yeah, Lewis Hamilton is quickest on a 1:57.996. Perez is now second in the Red Bull and 0.08 of a second behind. So Perez doing pretty well so far in the Red Bull. And then you got Norris third, Gasly fourth, Russell fifth, and then Stroll, Alonso, and now Bottas has gone up into 8th place in the Mercedes. And then it's Latifi 9th, Verstappen 10th, and then Vettel, Sainz, Leclerc, Giovinazzi up to 14th now. And then Ricciardo 15th. And then you've got Mazepin 16th, Schumacher 17th, Tsunoda 18th, Raikkonen 19th, and Ocon in 20th position. As Max Verstappen is on now what looks to be a pretty good lap, as the track is definitely a lot drier now, especially towards the second half of the lap. So dry tyres might not be too far away. He's on a purple first sector, Verstappen. Not a purple middle sector, but he is 0.9 of a second quicker than Lewis Hamilton so far in this lap. Surely Verstappen is going P1 here. And maybe into the 1:56s. As Verstappen comes up to the final chicane. And slight distraction ahead, but it won't really affect him in terms of any turbulent air. As Max Verstappen now comes up to the line and goes, yep, he goes into the 1:56, is a 1:56.9 and goes P1 by 1 full second ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Brilliant. First, I'd say proper, clean run by Max Verstappen there. Verstappen doing maybe not what's expected of him, but he's at least in the part of the grid where he needs to be. To, boost his confidence going into qualifying later on, which could be wet, could be dry. We'll have to see. As Hamilton now down into 2nd place. Lance Stroll has gone up to 5th in the Aston Martin. And then you've got Gasly 6th, and then Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin up to P7. The Aston Martin drivers enjoying themselves at Spa so far today. And then Russell 8th, Alonso 9th, Bottas 10th, and then Latifi, Sainz in 12th. Mick Schumacher is now 13th in the Haas, Leclerc 14th, and then the rest of the order is as it was. And now we're just seeing... Oh, no, we're now on an ad break for Sky. I thought they were showing, for some reason, a replay of a Ferrari overtaking a McLaren at the Spanish Grand Prix. I got a bit scared there. So, yeah, the current order, 20 minutes in, Verstappen leading by a second clear in this session in practice 3 from Lewis Hamilton. And then Perez third, Norris fourth, Stroll, Gasly, Vettel, Russell, Alonso, Bottas completing the rest of the top 10. And then Latifi, Sainz, Schumacher, Leclerc, Giovinazzi, Ricciardo, Mazepin, Tsunoda, Raikkonen, and Ocon is the rest of your order. Just going to quickly read out some comments in the chat. Just to pass the time quickly. Silverback says, good morning, my race family. I hope everybody is great. Hopefully you are doing well, and thank you for that. Daniel Edwards says, good evening / afternoon / morning, fellas. My 5-year-old daughter will be getting her first taste of F1 when qualifying starts. Great that you're getting her into Formula 1. Absolutely fantastic. Find some other ones here. James Chambers says, good early morning from New York City. That is commitment because it's what? 6 a.m.? Is it in New York? 6 or 7 a.m.? Very early. Probably still, or maybe just about, the sun's coming up. So yeah, that is commitment. And Chazza HD is my weekend ritual, just not in that order. Or coffee and Chazza HD is my weekend ritual, just not in that order. Keep up the great broadcasts. Thank you very much, James. Yeah, that's very much appreciated. Right, so we'll just wait, see when we come back from the ad break, and I think I pretty much now remembered what corner names are for which corner now, which is good. I know it can be quite embarrassing, considering I've been watching Formula 1 now for almost exactly 10 years now. It'd be quite embarrassing if I forgot what names the certain corners were. But, the last time I did a stream for the Belgian Grand Prix was qualifying 2019. So, yeah, it's been a long time, been two full years. Silverback saying 6 a.m. Yeah, that honestly, that I appreciate that massively, the commitment. I really, 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 really do. And yeah, we'll be coming back from the ad break, by the looks of it, in just a moment, as Skyfone is doing an advert for people wanting to tune in for qualifying later on to watch Verstappen versus Hamilton. And you never know, maybe Perez up there as well. Or Lando Norris, or Valtteri Bottas. We'll have to see. The weather, of course, will play a big factor in the result of qualifying later on. And, of course, practice 3. As we come back, Max Verstappen is still P1, but now in second place, still about second off the pace, is Sergio Perez. So Red Bull have currently a 1-2. And then Hamilton is third. Then it's Norris, Stroll, Gasly, Vettel, Russell, Alonso, Bottas, your top 10. And then the rest of the order is, except for Tsunoda, now up to 15th. The order is as it was. So there you go. As we're now, 25 minutes in to practice 3, and Daniel Ricciardo, who is struggling down in 17th place, is now on a flying lap. We'll have to see whether this is a good enough improvement by him. Really, given his teammate is 1.5 seconds off Verstappen, you'd hope that Ricciardo could get somewhere in the top 10, and he doesn't. He goes P12, 2 seconds slower than his teammate. 2 seconds. That's not even alarming. It's way more than alarming to be 2 seconds off your pace of your teammate in these conditions. That really is very worrying. And you know, it might not mean anything later on if it's dry in qualifying, but that's just, yeah, that's nowhere near good enough. I mean, still slower than the two Williamses. I mean, yeah, so Ferrari, but Ferrari have not really set any other lap time than what they did when they came out, you know, earlier on in the session. As Max Verstappen has put on a set of medium compound tyres. By the way, they're just showing on screen, technical directive update. For improved safety in the pit lane, teams now must ensure that there is at least 0.15 of a second from when the wheels are secured to when the jack operators can lower the car to the ground. Well, at least that's a bit better than, you know, deliberately slowing the pit stops by a second or two, which is what was made out was going to happen to slow down pit stops. At least, you know, I mean, 0.15, it can make a difference, but if all the teams are making that 0.15 delay, then it won't really make a difference at the end of the day, as they're just showing highlights of Max Verstappen throwing his Honda-powered bull around the forest of Spa. And Spa, if you didn't know, pretty much, I think this and Monza, pretty much the oldest racetracks that Formula One, you know, has used or still uses to this day. And really motor racing history in terms of the ones that have lasted so long. Of course, Spa used to be partially a real circuit and mostly just a road track. So it's really, you know, changed quite a lot from what it used to be like. Of course, Monza used to have all of that banking. The pit straight has remained to this day from when it was built back in the, was it 1920s, I think it was? But yeah, Spa, right up there with being as good of a track. I think definitely better than Monza. But definitely Spa and Monza right up there with the oldest racetracks that are still comfortably in use by a lot of different series. As Esteban Ocon is now finally on a proper lap. He just did a kind of an installation lap. So he has already set a time, but it is 9.5 seconds off the pace. As Esteban is now coming into turn 12 and turn 13. And now comes into Stavolo. And Ocon is 0.9 of a second down on Verstappen so far on this lap. So this is a pretty good lap. Probably going to go, say, 4th or 5th with this lap if he keeps on like he is. So, good run so far for Esteban Ocon. And yeah, the track definitely dry in the final sector, without doubt. But there's always the possibility of another rain shower. The cloud's still pretty dark. And Ocon comes to the line, and yeah, he goes up to P5 from 20th position. So Esteban Ocon now enters the fray. And a good time by him. And I'd imagine that might be one of the last times we see set on the intermediate tyres. Because, like I said, pretty dry now around a lot of the circuit. So I think we'll probably start to see some soft tyres coming out very, very soon. As Kimi Raikkonen's car still under repair. We'll see something about the floor that Kimi Raikkonen was not liking, or that Alfa Romeo saw on the telemetry. As we're now pretty much halfway through this session. Just want to say, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, because I will be doing a lot more race weekend content for, of course, other race weekends this season, for the rest of the season. But for this weekend also, I'll be live later on at 1:30 PM UK time for the qualifying watch-along. So don't forget to come along to that. And also, I'll be uploading a highlights package from the qualifying stream sometime tonight. I'll let you guys know, of course, when that comes out, when I post it in the Discord and post it on my community tab on my YouTube page so you guys can watch the highlights of my stream and, you know, the highlights really of qualifying from my perspective. So don't forget to subscribe for that content coming up later today. Bottom right of the screen, you can subscribe right there, or just go to my channel page and do it there. And whilst you're there, hit the notifications bell, and also don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. As they were just showing then for some reason, it was quite interesting to see. And the traffic coming into, I think, the circuit is gridlocked pretty much. And yeah, so they're just showing on the screen what I was talking about earlier, the revised calendar. So Turkey now moves a week later to October 10th. Mexico and Brazil move a week later to November 7th and 14th respectively. They're showing November 21st as TBC, but we believe that it will be moved, that race, to November 28th, and it will be the Qatar Grand Prix, which will be the first of the triple header to end the season. The second of the triple header, of course, will be Saudi Arabia, and then the third and final race of the triple header, and the final race of the season, of course, will be Abu Dhabi. There's only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 races to go between now and the middle of December. Middle of December's not very long away. What, 3.5 months? Not that long, but 11 races in that time is what we're going to be getting. And hopefully, even more excitement in the championship battle. As just watching Esteban Ocon doing some laps, he's not really improving on his time. He just looks as though he's just trying to get a feel for things, really. Build up some confidence in his Alpine, which definitely will go better in the wetter conditions around this track than the drier conditions. And Alpine will definitely be hoping for rain rather than the dry conditions. Because if it's dry, then I think, compared to, say, McLaren, Aston Martin, AlphaTauri, they're going to be in for a bit of a tricky day. Not, it doesn't mean they'll be poor or anything, but they'll just be, say, at a higher risk of a lower grid position if it is dry for qualifying later on. But like I've been saying, the final sector is bone dry, so I don't think it'll be long until we see dry tyres. Clouds, though, towards the end of the lap, very, very dark, so never know, could see another big rain shower. As, well, the entry to the final chicane still has a bit of water on it, so maybe not the entire final sector is bone dry, but up until then, there's a clear dry line. So we're pretty close, I would say, to dry tyres. It's just, you know, who is going to go for it? As, oh, I think it has started raining again, which, well, I'd say that's good news. That it's raining again, as all the crowd, by the way, it's so great to see so many fans here at the Spa circuit for the Belgian Grand Prix. They make it really a fantastic atmosphere, they do, this Grand Prix, the fans. And yeah, now that raining again, looks as though I was chatting shit. So we'll see now what happens on the next runs on the intermediate tyres now that it started raining again. Max Verstappen, by the way, has come out back on track, so we'll see if he can improve his time from a 1:56.9. Lewis Hamilton won't be going out anytime soon to improve his time because he's currently sat chatting to his engineers. So he won't be going out at the moment, with 25 minutes to go in practice 3, as Max Verstappen comes straight back into the pits, as Antonio Giovinazzi, I think, has just started a flying lap. As Verstappen comes back into the pits, or is he going to drive just straight through? He's going to drive straight through. and do a practice start, I think, at the exit of the pit lane. And yep, he's going to just pull to the right of the exit and do a practice start. And Verstappen now gets away again. And hopefully we will get to see what Max Verstappen is going to do. Whether he, can go any quicker than his 1:56.9, which I have to say, very, very quick time. Very quick time. I thought we would be, in practice 3 in these conditions, I thought they would be, say, at best 1 minute 58s. I mean, Perez and Hamilton are in the 57s, but they're barely in the 57s, like a 57.8, 57.9. But Verstappen already, with 25 minutes to go, to be in a 56.9 is a very, very good lap time. Saying that, I do expect Lewis Hamilton to improve from his 1:57.9. We'll see what he can do. As Max Verstappen coming through Pouhon, which is, of course, turn 11 or 12, can't remember. And Verstappen now coming through to Stabilo. And he will hopefully do a lap. With a bit more rain falling, it will allow these intermediate tyres to hang on a bit more in terms of tyre life. Because, of course, they do require water to stay alive. If you, keep on running the tyre, even on a track where it's pretty much dry, the intermediate tyre will just burn itself out. Because, like I said, its life is dependent on water on the circuit. So less water and the tyre just completely, falls away, as Max Verstappen, unfortunately, has come straight back into the pits. As they do another practice pit stop to put him on the medium tyre. But of course, they're not going to go out on the medium tyre because it is too wet. Pierre Gasly, though, and Fernando Alonso and the 2 Ferraris of Sainz and Leclerc are now on an outlap. So we should, hopefully, start seeing some more flying laps in the final 20 minutes here from those teams and drivers. Ferrari, of course, will be desperate to get up there, and not just get up there, but find out in these conditions how quick they really are. You would think they'd be pretty quick, because Ferrari obviously when it's wet, all of the corners become a lot slower. So in certain corners of this circuit, where it'll be very slow corners, you'd expect Ferrari to be very, very quick. Because, the disadvantage of high speed is a lot more less now because of the conditions, obviously. So, with them down in 14th and 16th, they've only done really 1 lap time of note. They'll want to be keen to find out how quick they can really go in these conditions. And so Gasly does an outlap, but comes straight back into the pits. Hope that's not going to be the norm now for all these cars, just to do 1 outlap and come back in. Sainz says the track is back to full wets. And maybe that's why Gasly is coming back in, because he wants a set of full wet tyres. I mean, it's raining, but it's not absolutely chucking it down. It's like a medium level of intensity, I guess you could say, the rain. It's not torrential. But of course, if the driver feels as though it's a full wet condition, then they've got to go for that. As Yuki Tsunoda is on an outlap. The 2 Ferraris, I think, have actually started a lap. I don't know if they're going to be proper quick laps or if they're just trying to see what the conditions are. Charles Leclerc doesn't really seem to be going that quickly in his Ferrari. We'll see as he exits that corner and comes into the no-name left-hander. And where he's pushing a bit, but it still doesn't look as quick as it could be. Maybe that's because the intermediates are just not, you know, not maybe the best tyre right now. But yeah, the Ferrari doesn't look particularly quick at the moment. I mean, we can't really see any sector times at the moment, so I can't really say, you know, how quick Charles Leclerc is going. As here's a replay of him going over the top of Radion. And no issues over that. And just showing a replay of the rear end of his car, of the red light flashing, of course, to help drivers behind see where they're going. As Alonso, I mean, Alonso's not on an outlap, but he's not exactly going quickly. So I don't really know what Fernando Alonso is doing. Maybe is thinking, yeah, we need to go on the full wet tyre. I don't know, but I think this is the beauty, really, though, of Spa, because there are parts of the circuit at the moment that look as though they're definitely intermediate, but then there's parts of the circuit that look as though they're probably full wet. Again, that's the beauty of Spa, because of how long the lap is, and I mean, the forest, of course, makes a difference to it as well. But again, it's the beauty of Spa, where you can be at one part of the circuit and it's like being in a different race in terms of the weather conditions and track conditions. Say if it's bone dry in the final sector, you could then get to the middle sector and it's full wet. That's why Spa, when the weather starts throwing a double six, that's why it's so hard to read, because you just don't know what the best tyre is at times to be on. As Alonso comes through the final chicane, and it looks as though Alonso is on a flying lap now. As Lewis Hamilton, by the way, is on an outlap. So is Yuki Tsunoda. Saying that, Tsunoda has been on a very long outlap. Look, seems as though he's been on an outlap for about 4 minutes. Don't really know what he's doing out there. As Bottas is on an outlap as well. So is Daniel Ricciardo. As Alonso comes through Eau Rouge and Radion and onto the Camel Straight. And we're heading to Lacombe in just a moment. He's going to pass an AlphaTauri of Tsunoda. And he does. And Alonso does not improve his first sector. It's a yellow first sector, which means, you know, you haven't improved on your personal best. As Alonso now comes into turn 8 and 9. In wet conditions, that corner, those two corners are painfully slow. Now into no name. And now comes to Puon. And yeah, he's not really going that quickly as Alonso. Doesn't really look as though he's pushing that hard, I have to say. So, bit of oversteer through the first part of that kind of chicane, the right and then the left-hander. As Alonso comes up to the middle sector, and yeah, he's not improving on this lap at all. This just isn't a quick lap. You can see it visibly on board. It just looks very pedestrian in the middle of the corners. And Alonso now comes up to the final chicane and should probably come back into the pits, but he's not going to. He's going to complete the lap. And Alonso, yeah, that time is, 2-3 seconds slower than his personal best. So that wasn't really a good lap at all. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll, Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo, all on an outlap at the moment, as this is Lewis Hamilton, I believe. This is Lewis Hamilton. And I don't know if this is Lewis Hamilton. Yes, it is. It is Lewis Hamilton. Just exited the first corner, La Source. Now through Eau Rouge. And we'll see if Hamilton, if his first sector immediately is an improvement on his previous best. We're not seeing, though, any sector time data, which is a bit frustrating. As Hamilton, does he lock up the outside front? Yeah, I think he did. And runs straight over the exit curb. And, yep, straight on. Cuts out those two corners. And aborts his lap. As the two Haas's now on an outlap, as well as the two Aston Martins. And here's a replay. And, yep, locked the outside front about 2 or 3 times. Tried turning in, and then he realised that he wasn't going to really make the corner. So he decided to go straight on towards the scene of an accident he had 10 years ago at Spa with Kamui Kobayashi. And rejoined at what? Turn 7 did Lewis Hamilton. And here is now Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin. Coming through La Source now, taking a very wide line, which is absolutely fine, because in the wet conditions, normally the karting line, which is anything but the racing line, in the dry, is the best line to take in the wet conditions, as the sun has come out in the first sector, and we're now on an ad break. Gotta say, this session is not exactly getting me going. I don't know if it's because teams are not wanting to risk their cars, but the second half of the session has been pretty bad in terms of entertainment. Silverback asks, where is Rook? And Nib. Well, Nib, he should be Nib on the Watchalong, the race Watchalong tomorrow. Rook, I'm hoping will be around for the qualifying stream later. If not, then I'll, hit him up with a message and ask, if he's okay. Because, of course, normally he is here. But, yeah. Nib, like I said, should be here tomorrow for the race watch-along. Of course, race watch-along will be getting underway at 1:30 p.m. UK time. And we'll be going until, 3:30, 4 p.m. UK time. Again, don't forget to come along to that. A race that I think we're gonna have a very good race this weekend for sure, because I think the grid will be mixed up, and then I think we'll get a lot of battling and overtaking this weekend, or for the race on Sunday. And Rivaldo says, I wish this battle be decided in the last race of the season. In terms of Verstappen versus Hamilton. I mean, yeah, that is the hope. Because the, final race title deciders are always the best. And also, we do have track changes to the Yas Marina circuit. The chicane, was it turn 4 and 5 or turn 5 and 6? That chicane is now gone. Now they just go from that long up and then downhill right-hander, which is turn 3. They go from that now straight to the hairpin, which I think will allow for overtaking for sure. Still won't make the circuit really that great, because the final sector is just an absolute abomination on society. And then at the end of the second DRS straight, which I believe is turn, or say what used to be, I'm trying to think what turn it is. I think turn 10 it used to be. I think now they're just making it a bit quicker, the entry to that corner. So hopefully then we'll see some more overtaking there as well. Even though at that corner, to be honest, the overtaking situation is fine. It's really the run onto that first DRS straight that needs to be fixed in terms of the biggest problem with the Yas Marina circuit. And there he is, the lad, Rooksfoot, saying morning Chazza Mykanol. Great to see you, mate. And, yeah, 10 now and a half minutes to go in practice 3. And apologies if it's not that eventful, but obviously I can't control what's going on. As they now come back from the ad break, and let's see what's happening. We're looking at Lewis Hamilton on board as he goes through the no-name corner and runs a tad wide on the exit. I'm going to hope that's not a replay, because that's nothing really to be replayed. Oh, God, it was. Sky F1 are just absolutely obsessed with Lewis Hamilton. Anything that happens, a slight excursion, and they have to show a replay. Just, just shows you the lengths they go to. As Lando Norris is on a lap, but it's not an improvement so far. As he's now coming through Pouan. Most of the circuit now graced in sunshine. Oh, spinner on the exit of, I think, the second Stavolo. The corner just after the middle sector time beam. Gasly just going for a spin there. But yeah, I was just going to say or I did just say, most of the track now blessed with sunshine. So just shows you 1 minute it's, definitely wet. Maybe we're going to have to go on the full wet tyre. And yeah, just a replay of Gasly spinning on the exit curb of the first Stavolo. Just a basic error, which I'm sure he won't make in qualifying, because he doesn't tend to make a lot of those. Yeah, it just shows you again with Spa. 1 minute, it's, possibly we might need to put full wets on. It's raining quite a lot. And now most of the track is got some sun on it. And now the teams are probably thinking, these intermediates are going to burn out. Maybe we'll go on the dry tyres. I mean, there's only 8 minutes left, so they're probably not going to do that. It just shows you again how the conditions at Spa, literally over the course of 5 minutes, can just completely change around. Charles Leclerc just complaining there is something loose in his cockpit, so they're going to wheel him back in to his garage and have a look to see if there's any issues that need fixing ahead of qualifying. So he probably won't come out again unless it's a very, very minor issue. And looks as though it's they're going to have to open up the car. So yeah, I think Charles Leclerc is done in this session. Sadly, in 16th place. We haven't got to see what Ferrari have at all. So they're pretty much an unknown going into qualifying. Our Ferrari as Valtteri Bottas starts a lap. Can Valtteri Bottas be the first person in about 30 minutes or more to actually set an improved lap time? Because we haven't had that in a long, long time in this session. The track in a lot better condition now than it was, so you'd hope so. As Bottas through Eau Rouge and Radion. And now on the Kemmel straight and moving offline to collect the water to improve the condition of the tyre. And now braking for Leclerc. And Bottas, well, doesn't look to be going that quickly, to be honest. So I don't think this is going to be really an improvement by Valtteri Bottas. As other cars on track are Stroll, Gasly, Vettel, and I think Alonso, I think Ricciardo or Latifi on track at the moment. As just showing a replay of Bottas in the final chicane. Here is now Pierre Gasly, who has not improved his first sector, but it looks as though he's pushing a lot harder than Valtteri Bottas was, put it that way. As Gasly through turn 8, now into the no-name turn 9. And Gasly getting away with it on the exit curb there. You can't really avoid the exit curb there because of how tight track is. So yeah. Of course, in the wet, you want to avoid the curbs at all costs, but in certain corners, you can't do that. Now through turn 13. And into now Stavolo. And will he make the same mistake again? No, he stays far away from that exit curb. And yeah, you see he's slowed down quite a bit as Pierre Gasly on this lap. So Gasly not travelling quickly at all as we enter now the last 5 minutes of practice 3. Lando Norris is on an outlap. Please, someone just give us something to talk about. An improved lap time or a few improved lap times, just something. Because this is quite painful to watch, I have to say. And I'm already just looking forward, really, to qualifying and just, yeah, thinking already about that. I mean, maybe now the Inters are just burning out on this track that is a lot drier. I don't know, but nobody is seemingly keen or able to improve their lap time as Lando Norris just comes straight back into the pits. And I think, guys, that's pretty much the end of the session. Unless someone out there wants to give us some hope. As Lando Norris has put on the soft compound tyre. And he's coming out onto the track. So let's see if Lando Norris is going to set a time. I mean, the tyres are going to be pretty wet coming out of the pit box. Oh, spinning up the rear on the exit of the pit lane, going around the bend of turn 1. And very nearly, I thought, was going to go for a spin. The only problem is, I mean, the track is, I would say, once you get your tyres warmed up enough, you would be able to set a quicker time on the soft tyre. But the only problem is, the first corner you come to when your tyres are cold is Eau Rouge and Raidillon, which is, you know, you don't want to be going into that corner with cold tyres. Pretty much the most scary corner in Formula 1 if you're not prepared in terms of tyre warm-up. As Lando Norris is now coming through into the start of the second sector. Not really, by the looks of it, he's not really got that much grip, has Lando Norris. But in the, I'd say, second half of the lap, certainly, it's a lot drier. So we'll see if he can get his tyres fired up enough to go for a lap. And if he can get them fired up enough to set a time without making any serious errors, then he should go fastest in a moment. And yeah, now he's entered the second half of the lap. It looks a lot more smooth and comfortable. Does the McLaren? There are still some certain wet patches. We'll have to see if Norris will continue on this lap. As Norris now coming through the second part of Stavolo. And now he's on that, or into the final sector, on that kinked straight, going towards Blanchimont. And we'll see if he dare go for a flying lap. I'm going to guess not, because I think he'd be going a bit quicker than this, to be honest. And no, he's going to come back into the pits. Clearly, just a bit too wet for Lando Norris to go for a lap there. As Esteban Ocon is on an outlap. I don't know if Ocon is also on a dry tyre or not. But yeah, that seems to be pretty much the end of the session. As we're now into the final minute. And I think what we'll do is I'll just quickly read out the order. So, pretty much the finishing order of practice 3. Max Verstappen in P1, a second clear of his next rival being his teammate Sergio Perez in second. Lewis Hamilton third. Hamilton, if it is a wet session, I mean, Hamilton, we've seen, he is the best wet weather driver in Formula 1. and is amazing in qualifying, dry or wet. But given that Verstappen has really laid down, the gauntlet, he really has got to bang in some good laps early on in qualifying later on, because Verstappen has really laid down the challenge there to Lewis Hamilton. So Hamilton third, Lando Norris in fourth. Not really a surprise given that Norris is just always performing so well, always up in the top 5. Then you got Ocon 5th, Stroll 6th, Gasly 7th, Vettel 8th, Russell 9th, and Alonso 10th. Williams, I've got to say, pretty good in that session, 9th and 12th. I mean, there were probably others behind them that could have gone a lot quicker, but still, pretty good. For Williams, Alonso 10th, Bottas 11th, Latifi 12th, Ricciardo 13th, and then Sainz 14th, Schumacher 15th, 16th is Charles Leclerc. Hard really to say where Ferrari are right now. I would imagine they could get into the top 10, but yeah, very hard to say whether they will be. Definitely in the top 10. We didn't really get to see what they have pace-wise, so we'll have to see in qualifying later on. And then Tsunoda 17th, Giovinazzi 18th, Mazepin 19th, and 20th, Kimi Raikkonen, who has some sort of problem with his car. Hopefully, it'll be all good. Qualifying, they'll be getting underway in 2 hours from now. So guys, thank you for coming along to this Practice 3 stream. And again, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, because it'll be live later on for the qualifying watch along. And again, qualifying watch along highlights or stream clip, whatever you want to call it, will be uploaded later tonight as well. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel for that content coming up. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it there, or just go to my channel page and do it there. And whilst you're at my channel page, don't forget to hit the notifications bell. As well, smash the like button and share this video and channel every way you can. And as well, don't forget to join my Discord server, link below in the description. We have almost 500 people in there, and it is a very, very active server and has been very active over the summer break. So it'd be great to have you along in our growing community. But guys, until my qualifying watch along, which will be getting underway in an hour and a half's time, it has been me, Chazza HD. Goodbye.